Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be continuing David's story. So let's go ahead and get into this. This is going to be called Oh Absalom. If you remember all that's going on with Absalom, and he's taking over the kingdom. David needs to regroup his army and his loyal servants to him. And right now, Absalom has taken over the kingdom. And if you remember, what was his name? I kept having a problem with his name last time. Ahithophel. I think it's something similar to that. Obviously, I'm not good with these, but he ended up killing himself because he knew that Absalom was listening to Hushai's advice and not his, so he knew that it was going to fail and that they were going to be captured, and he didn't want to be, captured or whatever. So again, we're reading Absalom based on 2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 1 through chapter 19 of verse 15. So let's go ahead and get into this. Absalom has sent his messenger out and gathered an army from all the tribes of Israel. His leaders, he leads them across the Jordan River to attack his father, King David. Meanwhile, Joab and David had gathered the royal army to their refuge at Mahanaim. Absalom made a mistake by not making sure your army supported his rebellion. He had the best fighting force around. Our skills were honed defeating the Philistines. Now that we are all in one place, his ragtag supporters won't stand a chance. All right, Joab, give the orders to march. I'll go with you. No, David, you are the king now, not just a soldier. Your life is too valuable. Remember when Goliath's giant cousin sought revenge and almost killed you? Let us fight your battles for you. Stay in the city and be ready to send help if we need it. If that seems the best to you, I'll stay here. So, now he is very important to be kept alive. He is their king. It's like us protecting, here in America, our president. Our president, is our leader and all that. So he's the most protected man in the country. Same thing with David. David is their king. He is their leader. He must be protected. He's not just a soldier like he was before. He's not just, like a general or colonel and leading them in a battle. Now he sends them to battle and gets ready to send reinforcements if needed. At the gate, David speaks again. For my sake, make sure to spare Absalom's life. He's still my son. In spite of everything he's done, I love him. So he wanted him to spare his life because, in war, obviously comes death as well. The two armies meet in the forest of Ephraim. Joab has chosen the battlefield, while Absalom's men can't fight as well in the rough terrain. Sudden cliffs, thick trees, and wild beasts are just as dangerous to the rebels as swords of David's soldier. So not only are they out here fighting each other, but there's also, as we can even see right here, lions and, bears, just, creatures, cougars and all that stuff, and then just the rough terrain and things that they're in. They're not, accustomed to that. Absalom's army is not accustomed to that. So, David's army takes advantage of that. Absalom tries to retreat on his horse, but as he takes flight, his head gets caught in the low-hanging branch of an oak tree. His hair gets all twisted up and tied up into the tree. While Absalom hangs helpless, Joab finds him. There, in direct defiance of David's order, he ends the rebellion in the simplest way he knows. I'm sorry, Absalom, but this is the best thing for the kingdom. Sound the trumpet. We have the victory. So, despite what David has told Absalom or Joab, he told him not to kill him, and there he is hanging in the tree, and Joab takes advantage of that, and he figures that the only way to end this is to kill him. So he kills him, he spears him, and puts an end to it all. My king, we have won the battle. Fine. What about my son Absalom? Is he all right? At the news that Absalom is dead, David climbs to the lookout above the city gate. Alone he mourns for his son. O Absalom, if only I had died instead of you, my son, my son. So it just shows you how far the devil can lead, you away. As far as Absalom was his son, and David, uh, was his father. I mean, his own father, and he turned against them. He killed his brother, his own brother Amon. He killed him. He tricked his father. He took over his kingdom. He turned his people against him. And in the end, just as Jesus would have, just as God does us, David still loved him, still forgave him. He knew he was, he's his son. So this is a perfect example of how God feels for us. Even though some of people on this earth is murderers, adulterers, liars, all the horrible things people truly do, we are his children. We are God's children. And he loves us and he forgives us. All you have to do is come to him. Come to him through Jesus. That's all you have to do. Repent, ask for forgiveness, and sin no more. Obviously, people do make mistakes and things like that, here and there, but sin no more. Don't go off and ask for forgiveness, sin, ask for forgiveness, next day do the same thing, because it's not going to work. You have to devote your life to God in that way. And, but he will love and forgive you no matter what, you have done. So just as David loved and forgave his son for all that, stuff he had done, he still loved him and he still wanted him to live with him and, see him. And just as God wants us to live with him in his kingdom. So, don't worry about any of that stuff. It's all in the past. Come to God. He can forgive you and he can help you change. He's the only person he's the only, being that can, change anybody. He can change, anybody's hearts, anybody's mind. So he could change you. In his grief, David turns his back on the men who won the victory for him. Finally, Joab goes to see the king. You act as if you wish Absalom had won the battle. Have you forgotten the men who fought to save you and your family, your kingdom? If this keeps up, all your allies will turn against you. David sees the truth of Joab's words, and he makes peace with the tribes that sided with Absalom and goes back to Jerusalem. But when David finds out that Joab had deliberately killed Absalom, rage consumes him. He relieves Joab from command of his army. Joab screams at him, but I did it all for you. However, like always, David is unable to punish his own relatives. He eventually lets Joab take charge of the army again. In the meantime, young Solomon, the prince whose name means peace, is growing up and learning from the wise men around. His mother never forgets the Lord's special blessing of Solomon and hopes he will one day be king. Lord, you would not have shown him special favor unless you had big plans for him. May they come to pass. She prays to God. Years pass and David grows old. Finally, word spread throughout Jerusalem that the king's health is failing fast. The people know that David has chosen Solomon to be king and to build the temple of God, but there are rumors. So, now after all that has happened, David is growing old. He's become ill, and, Solomon, his son, that he had with Bathsheba, his second son, or child, is to be next to the king, next king. David says, I have had one too many sons dispute my authority. Take Solomon to the sacred spring of Gihon and declare him king. Zadok and Nathan act immediately. Solomon rides his father's mule to the spring of Gihon, and there Solomon is anointed king of Israel. The trumpet sounds. Long life to King Solomon. Bahanah leads his new king to the city, where the people greet him with shouts of joy. God bless King Solomon. So now David, he's like, anoint Solomon as king. So now Solomon has become the king. As we started David's story, a couple weeks ago, and now we are entering into the end of it. The noise of the celebration is so loud that it reaches Adonijah's feast. A messenger interrupts their feast with the news that David has just made Solomon the king. Knowing that they may be branded as traitors, Adonijah's guests flee in terror. There is only one chance to save my life. Prince Adonijah flees to the tabernacle where the people worship God. He grabs hold of the horns of the altar of sacrifice. I cannot be harmed at God's altar. I won't let go unless Solomon promises not to kill me. When Solomon finds his brother at the tabernacle, he agrees to spare Adonijah's life if he proves himself worthy of the new king's trust. The cowardly Adonijah promises anything that he thinks will spare him. But later, Solomon is forced to execute both Adonijah and General Joab when they commit suspected acts of treason. So Joab, obviously, who's been by David's side this whole time, he's been leading his army, and Solomon's brother, were suspected of treason, so he executed. Treason was a very, if you committed treason against, a king, especially, that's, most time it is, it's probably not, would be not like, I know in, the UK and stuff like that, they have a queen and stuff, so it's probably not to that extent now, but who knows, I guess. It's a very horrible crime, and they will execute you for it. But now, and I'll show you this picture in a second because this is a pretty cool little tribute. It's called The Death of God's King, based on Psalms 27, chapter 27, 46, and 84, 2 Samuel, also chapter 23. After ruling Israel for 40 years, King David dies. He's buried in a tomb underneath Jerusalem. All Israel mourns the death of the shepherd boy who built Israel into a mighty empire. No matter the circumstances in his life, he always gave honor to God. So here he was, this small shepherd boy, this nobody, this nobody who, all he was doing was just taking, like I said, shepherd boy. Nobody knew David or nothing. And then he goes and kills Goliath and grows up. Everything he had to deal with, gosh, oh no, I forgot his name now. How can I forget that? Give me just 1 second. Let me go back real quick. Oh, King Saul. Yeah, that's right. King Saul. Everything he had to do with Saul. And then, building his own army, and then eventually becoming king over, Jerusalem, and building, conquering all the tribes around him, building it into this massive empire that it was. He was God's chosen king, and he did some incredible things, and conquered a lot, and was a great leader. And a lot happened in his life. But to this point, it was gone to his son Solomon now, and now he, would go on to heaven. And it says this, as a shepherd, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Who should I fear? When evil men attack me, they will stumble and fall. When a warrior in exile, God is my hideout and my strength. Though the earth fall apart, the mountains crumble, and the seas rise up, the Lord is mighty to save. Be still, and know that I am God. As a king, when one rules over men in righteousness, when he rules in the fear of God, he is like the dawning light at sunrise on a cloudless morning, like the brightness after rain that brings the grass from earth. And at his death, how beautiful is your heavenly kingdom, O Lord! Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 days spent anywhere else. And this, is a little tribute that they put. A very incredible story. David has one of the most well-known and most incredible stories in the Bible. And he did a lot of things, and no matter what, he always had, he's one of the most perfect examples of incredible faith in the Bible. I mean, the faith he had when he was a boy, when he defeated Goliath, the faith that he carried on even when he was out there in the wilderness, because Saul wanted to kill him, and then building his army and all that, and, the honor and everything that David had all the way through his life was just incredible. And even his son Solomon has incredible stories. Solomon's one of the most wisest men in the Bible, and who knows, we might do that next, maybe not, we'll see. But I'll catch you guys on Wednesday. Hopefully you learned something new about David, and as always, take it easy, and thank you for watching.